Some people think strength only lives in muscles, but real power beats in the heart that stands for justice. That moment, when you choose to stand beside someone weak, even when the world calls you crazy, that's the moment a person becomes a hero. Today's story is about a man who's seen by the world as a symbol of strength, faith, and hope. A man who's inspired millions, not through his words, but through his actions. This is the story of John Cena, who one day walked into his own company, disguised as a janitor, and what he witnessed there changed his mind, his life, and his entire definition of power. If you believe in stories that touch the heart, and if you know that a true hero is the one who fights for justice quietly, then stay till the end of this video, and don't forget to subscribe, because this story will show you a new meaning of humanity. It was past midnight. The neon sign of Fuel and Faith Café flickered against the quiet street, a place built to inspire health, hope, and hard work. Yet lately, something inside had begun to rot. Through the back door walked a man in a plain gray uniform, head down, a mop bucket rolling beside him. To the world, he was just another janitor starting a late shift. But behind that worn baseball cap was John Cena, the man who owned the entire chain. No one looked twice at him. No autographs. No cameras. Just the soft squeak of his shoes on the tile floor. He hadn't come here for fame tonight. He'd come for the truth. The reports on his desk didn't make sense. Profits climbing higher every month. But behind the numbers, whispers of unhappy employees, late paychecks, and sudden resignations. Corporates said it was burnout. Cena didn't buy it. He'd spent his life earning respect the hard way, and he could smell when something wasn't right. He tied his apron, adjusted his name tag that simply read Joe, and began scrubbing tables. Every motion was deliberate, every silence heavy. He watched from the corners of his eyes, how the staff moved, how they spoke, who carried real weight, and who only pretended to. That's when he noticed her, a young woman behind the counter, moving quickly but gracefully, wiping, brewing, smiling through exhaustion. Her name tag said Maya Torres. When customers grew impatient, she stayed calm. When others slacked off, she quietly picked up the pieces. There was a steadiness in her, the kind that couldn't be taught. Cena kept his distance, pretending to mop, but every small act she did told him more about this cafe than any spreadsheet ever could. Kindness wasn't policy here. It was her. Then came the voice that snapped the air like a whip. Joe! The restroom's a mess, move it! The manager, Derek Cole, strutted past with a perfect smile and an ego to match. To the customers, he was charming. To his staff, he was a storm waiting to break. Cena nodded, pushing the mop toward the hallway. In the reflection of the steel door, he caught his own eyes, tired but determined. He whispered under his breath, I'm not just cleaning floors tonight. I'm cleaning the truth. As the cafe lights dimmed and the last customers left, John Cena realized this night wasn't just another shift. It was the beginning of something bigger. A reckoning that would change everything he thought he knew about leadership, loyalty, and power. The morning rush hit Fuel and Faith like a wave. Steam hissed from espresso machines, milk frothed, blenders roared. And in the middle of it all, Maya Torres moved like calm inside chaos. John Cena watched her closely from behind the counter, pretending to wipe down tables. No one paid attention to the janitor, and that's exactly how he wanted it. Maya's movements were efficient, precise. She didn't waste a second or a smile. When a cup dropped, she picked it up before it even hit the floor. When a customer's card failed to swipe, she paid out of her own pocket without a word. There was no drama, no pride, only quiet kindness. Cena had seen champions rise and fall, but this was a different kind of strength. Every now and then, she'd glance toward the office door, The one that Derek Cole, the manager, treated like a throne room. Her eyes carried a mix of caution and worry, as if something inside that office held a secret she couldn't escape. Cena leaned his mop against the wall, listening as two baristas chatted near the sink. "She's been doing doubles all week," one whispered. "Yeah, and she still closes every night. Derek keeps piling shifts on her. She doesn't complain though. I swear, without Maya, this place would fall apart." Cena kept his face blank, but inside his suspicion grew. Why was she working so much? Why was she the one holding everything together while others barely cared? That night, after the cafe emptied out, Cena stayed behind under the excuse of cleaning the floors. He watched quietly as Maya checked the machines, counted the cash drawer, and turned off the lights. But then she didn't leave. She glanced around, then slipped into the office. A soft click of a key turning echoed through the hallway. Cena froze, his hand tightening on the mop handle. Through the small crack in the door, he saw her kneel beside the filing cabinet. She opened the bottom drawer, pulled out a small white envelope, and, instead of taking money, she added some in. Folded bills, carefully placed. Then she sealed the envelope again, whispering something under her breath, and labeled it neatly, LC. When she walked out, Cena pretended not to notice. She gave him a tired smile. "Night, Joe," she said softly. "Night," he replied, his voice low. As she disappeared into the dark street outside, Cena stood in the silence of the cafe, the mop still in his hand, the echo of that small act replaying in his mind. She wasn't hiding something wrong. She was protecting something right. And whatever it was, he was going to find out. The next morning, Fuel and Faith felt different. The air wasn't filled with the warmth of roasted beans or friendly chatter. It carried tension, the kind that seeps into walls when people are afraid to speak. John Cena arrived early, bucket in hand, pretending to check the floors. But his real focus wasn't the tiles. It was Derek Cole. Derek strutted through the cafe like a man who thought he owned the place. A polished smile for customers, a sharp glare for everyone else. Every word he spoke dripped with control. "Keep those cups lined up straight," he snapped at a new barista. "And Maya, that window still looks dirty. Do it again." Maya didn't argue. She just nodded and wiped the same spotless glass, her reflection trembling in it. Cena clenched his jaw. He'd seen bullies before, in locker rooms, on sets, in boardrooms, but something about Derek's power trip felt worse. It was small, personal, the kind that breaks people slowly. At lunch, while Cena cleaned the floor near the counter, he overheard Derek talking to a coworker. "Corporate doesn't care how I run this place," Derek bragged. "As long as the numbers look good, I'm untouchable." Untouchable. That word burned in Cena's mind. He remembered every young wrestler who'd been told that same lie. That power meant protection. He'd spent a lifetime proving that real power meant responsibility. That night, when the cafe closed again, Cena lingered. Derek was in the back office, door half shut, talking on the phone. Cena quietly stepped closer. "I told you, she won't say anything," Derek's voice hissed. "She's too scared to lose her job. The drawer's safe." Cena's pulse quickened. The drawer. The same drawer Maya had opened the night before. When Derek hung up and left for the night, Cena waited a moment, then peeked inside the office. The bottom cabinet drawer was locked, the same one labeled LC in Maya's handwriting. He didn't open it. Not yet. He wasn't here to steal. He was here to understand. As he turned to leave, he caught sight of a framed quote on the wall. One Derek must have hung himself. "Leadership is control." Cena stared at it for a long time. Then he whispered, "No, leadership is courage." He turned off the light and walked out into the night, his mind already spinning. Tomorrow, he'd find out who Elsie really was, and why Maya Torres was risking everything to protect them. The next day, Fuel and Faith buzzed with the usual noise. Grinders humming, orders being shouted, the comforting rhythm of a cafe that looked normal, but wasn't. John Cena worked in silence, eyes sharp, ears open. Every movement, every glance, every word mattered now. He wasn't here just to clean anymore. He was here to uncover what was buried. By mid-afternoon, he'd seen enough to confirm one thing. Maya Torres wasn't just an employee. She was holding the place together. When the blender broke, she fixed it. When a customer complained, she defused it. When a co-worker nearly broke down, she quietly stepped in. And every time, Derek Cole found a new way to belittle her. That evening, when the lights dimmed and the last customer left, Cena stayed behind, pretending to mop the far end of the room. He watched Maya clean up, her usual routine. Wipe the counters, empty the bins, lock the register. But then, she paused, looked around, and walked toward the office again. Cena's heart rate picked up. He followed quietly, stopping near the hallway corner. The sound of keys rattled. Then click, through the narrow opening, he saw her kneel again. Just like before, at the bottom filing drawer. The label was clear this time. Lena Cruz. Not Elsie. A name. Maya pulled a small tin from her bag. A jar covered with tiny stickers. Inside it, a handful of bills. She counted them, added a few more, then slid the jar gently into the drawer. On the envelope beside it she wrote, Week 14. Then she closed it carefully, almost like she was closing a secret she didn't want the world to ruin. Cena's grip tightened on the mop handle. This wasn't theft. This was something else. Compassion. Loyalty. A silent rebellion against injustice. When Maya finally left, Cena moved closer to the office, staring at that drawer. He didn't open it. He didn't need to. Not yet. He'd seen enough to know that this Lena Cruz wasn't a ghost. She was someone real, someone wronged. Outside, the streetlights flickered as Cena stepped into the cold night air. He sat in his truck, opened his laptop, and accessed the company's private employee records. His fingers flew across the keyboard. Lena Cruz, terminated. 3 months ago. Reason, cash handling violation. Cena frowned. No investigation file. No HR follow-up. Just one line. Then he noticed the date. The same week Derek Cole got promoted. Something snapped into place. This wasn't burnout or bad luck. This was corruption. Cena closed the laptop slowly, the reflection of the screen flickering against his eyes. He whispered to himself, Maya's not breaking the rules. She's keeping the truth alive. The janitor disguise was no longer a cover. It was his weapon. Tomorrow, John Cena wasn't just coming back to clean. He was coming back to witness. The next morning, the city was still half asleep when John Cena parked his truck across from Fuel and Faith Café. Steam rose from his coffee cup, but his mind was sharper than ever. He had names now, dates, and questions that demanded answers. When he stepped inside, no one looked twice at the janitor in the gray uniform. That was his advantage. Invisible men see everything. Maya Torres was already there, resetting the pastry counter, her face calm but her eyes tired. She had worked another double shift. Cena could tell. There was a quiet fire in her, something unbreakable. Derek Cole, on the other hand, was in his usual form, loud, polished, pretending to lead while feeding off control. Let's move, people. I don't want any delays today, he barked, coffee in hand, phone glued to his ear. But every fake smile he gave a customer, Cena now saw as a mask. Hours passed. Cena waited for his moment, until the lunch rush was over, and the cafe finally started to breathe again. He slipped quietly toward the break room, pretending to refill his bucket. A laminated schedule hung on the corkboard. Every week, Maya's name appeared more than anyone else's. Double shifts, extra closings, always last to leave. She wasn't just working hard. She was covering for others, probably the ones Derek drove away. Later that night, after closing, Cena returned to his car. He opened his laptop again, connected to the company's internal system using a code only partners knew. He searched for Lena Cruz. Her employee record appeared instantly. Former barista. Terminated. Cash mishandling. But something felt off. No signature from HR. No attached report. No evidence. Cena dug deeper. Into daily sales reports, transaction logs, payroll records. Then he saw it. 5 voided transactions. All from the same day Lena was fired. All processed under Derek Cole's login. Each one under $40. Just small enough to slip through the cracks. Cena leaned back slowly, his jaw tightening. He knew the trick. Void the sale after the customer leaves, pocket the cash, and blame whoever closes the register. Lena hadn't stolen anything. She'd caught Derek doing it. And he destroyed her for it. Now, months later, Maya was quietly keeping Lena alive. Week after week, envelope after envelope. Cena's chest tightened. With anger and admiration all at once, he whispered to himself, "She's not just loyal. She's brave." The next day, Cena arrived even earlier than usual. He followed Maya after her shift, keeping a careful distance. 6 blocks away, she entered a small corner grocery store, then came out with 2 bags full of food. Instead of heading home, she walked to a rundown apartment complex and placed the bags by a door on the ground floor. 2 quick knocks. No words. No waiting. A moment later, the door opened. A woman stepped out, thinner, pale, but unmistakable from the photo in Lena's employee file. She lifted the bags with trembling hands. Behind her, a small child peeked through the curtain. Cena stood still, his heart heavy. He wasn't looking at charity. He was looking at redemption. Maya didn't know anyone was watching. She just turned, pulled her jacket tighter, and walked away, back into the cold. Cena stayed frozen for a moment, then whispered to himself, "This isn't about coffee anymore. It's about courage." He got back in his truck, eyes burning with determination. Tomorrow, he wouldn't just observe. Tomorrow, he'd act. By the next morning, John Cena knew exactly what he had to do. No more hiding. No more silence. It was time to stand beside the very people he'd built this company for. When he arrived at Fuel and Faith, Derek Cole was already barking orders. His voice sliced through the cafe like a siren. "Maya, you missed a spot. And who authorized extra supplies this week? We're not running a charity." Cena could see the exhaustion in Maya's eyes, but also defiance. She'd stopped shrinking back. Something in her had changed, and Derek could feel it too. He was losing control. The tension peaked at noon when the espresso machine suddenly broke down in the middle of a busy rush. Steam hissed, customers groaned, and Derek exploded. "Who used this last?" he shouted. His glare fell on Maya. "Of course, you again." "It was working fine last night," she replied calmly. "I followed the checklist." "Clearly not," Derek barked. "No espresso means no sales. You've cost us half a day's revenue." Cena stepped closer, still in his janitor uniform. "I can fix it," he said quietly. Derek scoffed. "You? A cleaner? Stay in your lane." But Maya looked at Cena, really looked, and nodded. "Do it," she said softly. Within minutes, Cena had the valve realigned and the water feed reconnected. The machine hissed back to life with a perfect pull of espresso. The crowd cheered. Maya smiled for the first time that day. Derek's face turned red. He couldn't handle being outshined, especially not by his own staff, and definitely not by a janitor. Later that evening, the pay envelopes arrived. Everyone received theirs, except Maya. She approached Derek's desk. "My paycheck isn't here," she said quietly. He leaned back in his chair, pretending confusion. "Weird. Must have been a system error. I'll check next week." "Next week?" she repeated. "That's rent for my apartment." He shrugged, a smug grin spreading across his face. "Maybe if you focused more on your work and less on playing hero, you wouldn't have these problems." The cafe went silent. Even the espresso machine stopped humming. Cena clenched his fists. He'd had enough. That night, after Derek left, Cena logged into the company's internal portal and manually issued Maya's missing paycheck. With a bonus. He wanted her to know someone was watching. Someone who cared. The next morning, Derek stormed into the cafe, waving his phone. "You filed a payroll complaint?" he shouted. Maya looked him dead in the eye. "I asked for my pay. That's standard procedure, isn't it? Don't play games with me." Derek snapped. "You've been undermining me for months. You think you're smarter than me? You think corporate will believe you?" "No," she said firmly. "But they'll believe the truth." Derek smirked. "You can't prove anything." Then, from behind the counter, another voice spoke. Calm, strong, and familiar. "I can." Every head turned. John Cena stepped forward, slowly removing his cap. The gold name badge gleamed under the cafe lights. John Cena, founder, Fuel and Faith. The room froze. Even Derek went pale. The janitor wasn't a janitor. Cena's voice was steady. "I've spent the last 2 weeks here, watching, listening, and seeing what leadership really looks like. And it's not you, Derek." Maya stared, wide-eyed, realization dawning. Cena turned toward the staff. "This woman," he said, pointing gently to Maya, "has done more for this place than anyone wearing a manager's badge. She's the reason this cafe still stands." He turned to Derek, his tone sharp now. "You framed an innocent employee. You stole from your own team. You manipulated payroll, and you thought no one would notice. Well, I noticed." Derek tried to speak, but the words died in his throat. The silence that followed was louder than any shout. Cena looked around the room, then said, "Tomorrow morning, we meet here again, all of us. And this time, we'll talk about what real leadership looks like." He walked out without another word, leaving Derek frozen in place, and Maya standing taller than ever before. That night, for the first time in weeks, Cena slept peacefully. Tomorrow wasn't going to be easy, but it was going to be right. The next morning, Fuel and Faith wasn't open for customers. Its doors were locked, blinds half-drawn, and the air inside was thick with anticipation. Every employee was there, seated in silence, waiting. Maya sat near the corner, her hands folded tightly, while Derek Cole paced near the wall, pale and restless. Then the door opened. John Cena stepped in, not in uniform this time, but in a simple gray shirt and jeans. No cameras, no entourage, just quiet purpose. "Good morning," he said calmly, his voice filling the room. "Some of you knew me as Joe, the janitor, but my real name is John Cena, founder of Fuel and Faith." A stunned silence. Eyes widened. Someone gasped softly. Cena continued, his tone firm but kind. "I came here because something felt wrong. The numbers looked fine, but the people didn't. And now I know why." He turned toward Derek. "Mr. Cole, I reviewed your management record, payroll logs, and transaction data. You manipulated sales, stole from this cafe, and punished anyone who noticed. You didn't just break policy. You broke trust." Derek swallowed hard. "Sir, with all due respect." Cena cut him off gently. No. Respect is earned, not demanded. And you've earned none. He turned to the staff. But one person here has. His gaze met Maya's. This woman has shown more strength, loyalty, and courage than most people I've ever worked with. She didn't fight for herself. She fought for what was right, quietly, when no one else dared. Cena walked to the back office, opened the bottom drawer, and pulled out a stack of envelopes. This is what she's been protecting, he said. Evidence of every wrong you've done, Derek. But more than that, this is proof of something bigger. Proof that integrity still exists. He held up one envelope labeled Lena Cruz, week 14. Maya has been using her own money to help a fired employee survive. An employee who was falsely accused of theft to cover your corruption. Gasps filled the room. Maya looked down, embarrassed, but Cena smiled softly. You didn't do it for attention, he said. You did it because it was right.